What is up, everyone? It's the final consecutive streaming day of the week, and you know what that means? Good stuff. Recaps of everything that happened this week, great gameplay streams, and my second ever Family Night Q&A coming up later tonight. But before all of that, I have finally and definitively gotten to the bottom of the mysterious member bomb situation that has happened over the last week and a half, thanks to people who just can't keep their mouths shut and love to blab all over the internet. So, if you've been following this ongoing mystery and want to hear the conclusion today, we're going to talk about all this and more on today's episode of the Level 1 Podcast. Alrighty, so today is Wednesday, the 17th of January, 2024. Man, once again, this month is kind of flying by. Probably because, unlike earlier on in the year, like other years, this year we got a lot going on, right? We've got the Baldur's Gate 3 playthrough. We've got the launch of DSP Throwback and exciting retro content coming out every day. And we've got these new family nights now with my wife, which is really neat that she can be a part of my content again for the first time in over 5 years. So with all of this activity going on, it doesn't feel boring or stagnant, right? And that's a good thing. So time is flying, but you may not realize it. In just a little over a week, the first major new releases of 2024 are coming out in the likes of Like a Dragon, Infinite Wealth, and Tekken 8. And I'm excited for both of those releases. I think they're both going to be great, outstanding games that are going to have a lot of content here on the channel, and I think a lot of people will be excited to come and watch that content. So, excellent, right? But before we get to that, we still got about a week left, and this next coming week is essentially going to be the final push for certain games, the last hurrah for others, before we get into the new releases, and that becomes the vast majority of content that you're going to see on this channel in the foreseeable future. So we're going to talk about that today, so you know exactly what to expect in the next week. Also, coming up this week is my first ever stream over on DSP Throwback. That's going to be exciting to try out streaming over there for the first time and see how it works. You know, it should be a cool endeavor and something different than the kind of stuff that I do here. But the one big topic of today that undoubtedly we're going to talk about, and you guys are going to want to hear an update on, because finally, after a week and a half of me trying to figure this out, I finally got the real answer of what is going on with the gifted member bombs that have been hitting this channel, yet I'm not seeing any recorded revenue for them. If you remember, this all started back on January 7th, 10 days ago, when on that day I received 200 gifted memberships for the community. And everyone was rejoicing, oh my god, this is amazing, we all have memberships. And then it happened again the next day. On the 8th, another 200 gifted memberships. And people were again freaking out. And then 2 days later, another 100 gifted memberships. And then actually just this last week, at the very beginning of this week, there was another 50 member bomb. All right? And of course, everyone's like, what on earth is going on? That's amazing positivity. So many people have access to memberships now. But it was so weird because usually, when I get any kind of a contribution on a stream, within, say, 2 days, all right, in my analytics of the channel, I can see what I've earned for the month, and you'll see that revenue reflected in those analytics. So here we were days after, like 3, 4, 5 days after, and it's zero. And I'm like, how could it be, you know, nothing for any of those gifted memberships? It just doesn't make sense. And if you remember, over the last week, I contacted YouTube support. I actually talked to them live when this stream was just starting, and you could hear the blip and bloop of the chat as I was talking with them. They emailed me live during a stream this last week, which interrupted the stream, okay? And basically, absolutely none of that interaction whatsoever was worth any of my time. It was all worthless. Just as I had predicted, I told all of you, I said, contacting YouTube support, like, you're better off, for example, let's say I really need help with something. So I have two options. I can either contact YouTube support via the chat, or I can turn and I can talk to this picture of Mega Man throwing the Shadow Blade at Sparkman from Mega Man 3. Okay? So I can actually talk with a person in a chat, explain the situation in detail of what's going on, what I need help with, or I can talk to these melted plastic beads and this paint in the background. Now, you may actually think that talking to the YouTube support would help more, right? However, what you might not realize is that speaking with this picture actually might help me even more, because I might have a revelation myself. Like, I might look at this burst here and say, oh, that kind of looks like something. Oh, wait. Oh, maybe that's related to something I need help with. And then I can figure it out for myself. Because in reality, if you need help on YouTube, you might as well just help yourself. Talking to YouTube support 99.9999% of the time is a complete and utter waste of everybody's time. Okay? Really, all they can do is they can tell you general information. Like, I remember last year I had false copyright strikes against the channel, and the only useful piece of information they gave me was when they would expire if I disputed them, so I knew exactly the date that the channel would be clear. That was it. Like, any of the other, I was like, I know they're false. Can you do anything for me? No. Well, can we do that? No. No, I can't do anything. No, nothing. So all that talk, to going back and forth with YouTube support for 2 days was a waste of time. Everything they told me was bullshit. I actually know what happened with these member bombs now, and I'm going to lay it on you this morning. It's actually quite important that this information is known publicly, but the thing is, no one listens to me. So me telling you guys, at least you who watch the podcast will know what's going on. But I guess it's really just for our circle, because as you know, no one listens to me. Everyone thinks that I'm an idiot or something, and that there's no way I could figure anything out, even when I figure shit out like this. So it is what it is. I feel like I have information that could seriously help YouTubers, but no one will care because I'm Darkside Phil and I'm a meme on the internet, right? Oh well, I guess it's their loss then. If they're that fucking stupid, I don't know what else to say. Because I did figure this out. Anyway, before we get to that, I feel like we should get through yesterday's recap, the schedule, get that stuff out of the way, and then we'll talk about that. And I'll give you the full explanation of what's really going on. And we're going to have some adjustments. Let's just put it that way. There's going to be some adjustments live on the fly on today's Level 1 podcast. Okay? Okay. Cool. So yesterday on stream, we got really, really far in Resident Evil 0 Remastered. I don't know how close we are to the end, but basically it was very, very frustrating because this game literally should just be called like backtracking survival or something like that. Like, it has nothing to do with Resident Evil. The story feels like fan fiction. Really, it feels like someone wrote a cheesy backstory of how the virus actually escaped into the mansion because Capcom wrote themselves into a hole and couldn't figure it out for themselves. So they just like had a fan write a crappy, story, fan service story. The gameplay is not very good. It's basically just everything is hard to hit. The auto aim is terrible. Just throw endless amounts of enemies in rooms at you for no good reason. Spawn enemies in rooms you've already cleared again for no good reason. Limited ammo, limited, health. And you might say, well, that's all classic survival horror. Well, you're right. The difference is when you play Resident Evil 1 or Resident Evil 2, there's a feeling of nostalgia, a feeling of nuanced design. Like, the people who made those games knew what they were doing. If you get good at them, right, you get a feeling like, man, I want to replay this game again. I want to try to speed run it, or I want to try to do it in this different way, right? I compare that to like Dark Souls or any of the FromSoft games. They're well-designed, curated experiences that are fun. Even though they're annoyingly difficult, they're still fun to overcome. Resident Evil 0 is literally just annoying. Like, it's not fun to overcome. It's just a pain in the ass because of the way that they made this game, right? And so, here we are. I made major progress yesterday. We went through the entire factory, basically. We were separated from Billy. We rejoined Billy. We went back, fought numerous enemies, did multiple boss fights, unlocked doors, had to backtrack 17 times to keep grabbing items and transport them again across the whole base because there's no item box. All kinds of tedious nonsense. And basically at the end of the stream, we got to a boss. Now, I don't know if it's the final boss or the next to last boss. But the problem with this boss is you need to have both Rebecca and Billy in the room for this fight. And the boss hits you for so much damage. You go from fine, which is green health, to red health with one hit. So 2 hits on either character, and the whole fight is over. Now, how do we unload enough rounds into this guy to kill him? When he could just easily just go swipe, or grab and hold you, and then one more, and you're done. That's the fight. The problem is, every time you fight this guy, you got to backtrack through the whole base. It's not, oh, you're right outside the room at a save point. You have to walk across the whole fucking base to get back to this boss, okay? So, basically, once again, the game's showing how poorly designed it was, and it's weird because I distinctly remember back in the day when I played these classic Resident Evils, I hated Resident Evil 3. I thought Resident Evil 3 was atrociously bad. I felt like it was mashed together. It didn't feel like a true Resident Evil. There weren't enough ink ribbons. There was too much frustration in the gameplay design. I just remember just not liking it at all. And at the time, I remember distinctly, for like 8-9 years, I kept saying, Resident Evil 3 is the worst one. It's the one I hate. Now, after having played Resident Evil 0 Remastered again, I actually think this is the worst one. Like, legit, I have a feeling like this is the worst Resident Evil game made, just because there's really no fun factor in it at all. I think maybe once in the entire playthrough, I bested a couple enemies without getting hit, and I was like, yeah! And then outside of that, everything else was just so tedious and annoying, right? It drives me bonkers. I think what I need to do, I need to go back and play the original Resident Evil 3 again to get a feeling for it again. Because, man, this one is bad, and I'm wondering how much I would like or dislike Resident Evil 3 if I did a second run, okay? Anyway, we left it that I'm at this boss fight, and I don't know. I mean, we have to do another stream this weekend, Saturday, and see if I can kill this boss, and then what's next, because there are rooms next. You can even see on the map, past the boss room, there's a save room, and apparently, like, whatever's left in the finale of the game there, I don't know. We'll have to see. I don't know what's next, but we'll definitely beat it on Saturday, and thank God, good riddance, because, man, it's the worst one, in my opinion, okay? Okay, last night, it was more Sea of Stars, and let me tell you guys something. I'm really happy I played Sea of Stars as much as I did this week, even though those streams get almost no support and very low attendance, like, compared to all my other streams. Like, right now, we currently have 283 viewers and climbing for the podcast. That's more than last night's stream. No lie, like, even my lowest attended podcasts have more attendees than Sea of Stars. The funny part about that is, right? You guys have told me for years, play indie games. Why don't you play indie games? You miss out on the best indie games. I can't believe you don't play indie games when they come out. You really miss out on a giant, section of gaming because you basically are constantly playing the big AAA releases and you never play the little indie games, right? So I distinctly make time. And I say, let's make time in the schedule. Let's try Sea of Stars because this was the indie game of the year last year. Tons of people wanted me to play it in the summer and I didn't get to it. Let's do it. I finally play it. It's the least attended and least supported stream I'm doing. Hence the reason why you don't see me playing many indie games. It's not that I'm not interested in them. It's that for some reason my mainstream audience isn't. Okay? It's not me. It's the same thing in general with just RPGs. I love RPGs. I grew up with RPGs. Probably one of the biggest, most played franchises. Probably the 2 most played franchises I've ever played. RPGs and fighting games. Right? In my life. That's probably the 2 most played genres of games I've played. I would love to play RPGs constantly. But they don't retain views. I mean, even look at Baldur's Gate. This game won Game of the Year last year. This game, you guys yelled at me for 5 straight months to play. And at first, Baldur's Gate was bringing in the views. Now, I have videos from over 2 days ago that don't even have 300 views yet on YouTube. So do you see my point? It seems like what we have is a case where we have a vocal minority. It's people who like to see me play certain things I don't do, but then when I do them, there's just not a significantly large group of people who actually are wanting to watch it. The things that I'm focusing on, like fighting games or shooters or more action-based, those are the ones, the AAA releases, those are the ones that I get more attention on. So that's why I focus on those, right? It's not that I don't want to do more variety, it's that when I do, usually it actually hinders everything around here. As I've told you guys, I'm incredibly lucky that I am a variety streamer. And the reason is because I'm a variety streamer, I can balance various games against each other. And when we have a situation like Sea of Stars, a game that I've wanted to play since last summer, right? And I didn't have a chance because we were busy with all the big releases and finally getting around to it. I don't really have to worry about the fact that it just doesn't get much attention. I don't, because everything else balances it out, which is a good thing. If we didn't have the great Baldur's Gate support streams, right? If we didn't have the well-supported other streams that I do during the week, then Sea of Stars would be a problem. But because we're doing well with everything else, it allows me to enjoy Sea of Stars. You see, that's really the trade-off is. And by the way, by no means do I want to take away from anyone who's been attending and supporting the Sea of Stars streams. It's not that these streams are dead. It's just that they are definitely the slowest streams that I've been doing in every way when it comes to viewership, engagement, and support. Okay? But anyway, I played it 6 hours. Okay? 6 hours. And in the 6 hours I played it this week, we made tons of progress. Tons. We went to a whole new island. And now it was a haunted island where we fought all kinds of creepy ghosts and zombies and stuff. We fought a necromancer. And now we went into a haunted mansion. We had an epic boss fight and a giant plot twist. So basically, I'm about 12 hours into Sea of Stars, okay? I love it. I think the game is outstanding, all right? But there is one drawback. Last night, someone broke the news to me. They said, you're aware that Sea of Stars is 40 hours long, right? And I said, okay? Huh? I was like, huh? Because I was told, when we decided to play Sea of Stars, I was told it's 20 hours long. That's what I was told. So I was under the impression that we were more than halfway done with the game. And I was like, huh? So you're telling me now we're only 25% through the game? If that were the case, one of two things would have happened. Either I would have played it more, or I wouldn't have played it at all. Because just being honest, right now, I don't know how we're going to finish it. There's no way. And then next week, we'll be able to play it maybe twice. So we'll maybe be 16 hours into this game. But then once those new releases hit next Friday, not this Friday coming up, but the week after. So that's Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth and Tekken 8. Like a Dragon is going to become the main featured RPG. All right? I'm excited for it. It's a direct sequel to a game that I absolutely loved and was my game of the year from years ago. This one supposedly has much more content, and the Virtual Islander mode is going to be the mode that I play with my wife, and we're going to have co-op gameplay for the first time ever. We have never done co-op gameplay before, and we're going to do that Virtual Island together. Okay? So that's pretty damned awesome, right? Tekken 8. I'm excited to jump back into Tekken for the first time in ages. All right. It looks great. The graphics are good. The gameplay looks very sound. 32 different characters, story mode, arcade mode, and online play. There's a lot to dive into there. And I feel like, unlike Tekken 7, because I got so good at Street Fighter 6, that this is an ample opportunity for me to actually explore Tekken at a different level than I ever have before, right? I feel like I could investigate a series of characters, maybe a striker, a grappler, a hybrid, like 3 or 4 styles of character, and try to have varied gameplay. So I could play different characters online and stuff, and also I try the arcade mode, looks pretty good. So all these different things to do with the game, right? Now, in addition to that, we still got Baldur's Gate 3, and you guys have loved the game so much, and I like it. I think I want to keep that in the rotation. So I'm thinking, Like a Dragon, Baldur's Gate 3, and Tekken 8 for early February. Now, we may or may not have more games shoved in there over the course of February. I don't know. We'll see how it goes. But I'm thinking those 3 are going to be the featured games. And at the end of February, we got Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. And that's the next major game. And yes, it's another RPG. Luckily, it's an action-based RPG, a little bit different than the others. So I don't think it's really going to be too similar to the other games we're playing, right? But you see what point I'm making is I just don't know how I'm going to play Sea of Stars in all of that. You know what I mean? Like, I want to. Don't get me wrong. I totally want to. But I don't know how that's going to happen. So we got to think about this. Maybe we could shove it in there. I don't know. I mean, at most, maybe once a week. You know, I really don't know how this is going to work. So we got to think about this, all right? We're going to have to tackle this together and try to logically figure out, schedule-wise, how everything is going to work. Anyway, I love Sea of Stars. The 6 hours I played this week were absolutely amazing. I'm so happy I played 6 hours of it this week. Now we're 12 hours in. I love the game, and I can't wait to play it more this weekend. Okay? Cool. Today, Level 1 podcast, more Baldur's Gate 3, and then tonight, oh, by the way, in Baldur's Gate 3 today, we're definitely beating the Underdark, right? We beat the boss of the Forge, so we basically just got to get the second Forge reward, and then we got to go, I guess there's a hidden amulet we got to get for a quest. We figure out those quests, and then we're out of there, and then I guess people are saying the next part would be the Mountain Pass, and that's the final part of Act 1, so it looks like that's where we're headed today. How far we'll get in that, I have no idea. As you know, every time I play this game, I think I'm going to do something, and then it takes 7 times longer than anticipated to do anything, so we'll see together. But I'm excited for that, okay? Tonight, I am very happy that tonight we are doing the second ever Family Night Q&A stream here on DSPGaming. It's going to be myself, my wife, Kat, and if he chooses to come in here, Jasper Kitty, and we're going to be doing some Q&A with all of you and hanging out. Right now, it's going to be, number 1, contributors. We're going to shout out contributions and answer questions from contributions. Number 2, the live chat we're going to take questions from, but also people have been posting up in a thread that I created yesterday right here live on the show. So I'm going to be approving questions that you guys have submitted. If you cannot be here tonight, but you want a chance to talk to us and ask us questions, please post up in that thread. Right now, it's on the main channel page of DSP Gaming on the community tab. You still have time between now and tonight's late stream where I'm going to approve questions and stuff like that. All right, so please do, okay? So that should be fun. Let's chill. Let's enjoy tonight and see how it goes. Now, of course, the next question will be, well, how often are you going to do these? Because you did one last week and now you're doing another one already. Really? It's dependent on my wife. She had so much fun last week doing it. She wants to do it again right away. And we're actually thinking we're going to switch positions. Like, I'll sit here and she'll sit here. That way, I'll be able to easily man the laptop from this side. The only challenge there is that I'm going to have to figure out how to get this keyboard over here to type out contributions on the leaderboard. But if I'm over here, I should more easily be able to maneuver the leaderboard contributions and read things off of the laptop. When I was over here, it was like I was reaching over and I couldn't really get to it. So we'll probably swap positions. But outside of that, she had so much fun doing it last week. She absolutely said, I want to do it again this week. It was that much fun. I don't think we're going to do it every week, right? But what I think is going to happen is when Like a Dragon comes out, we're going to probably have a once-a-week night stream where we play the island mode. So right there, you're going to have like a week, 2 hours of co-op gameplay where we're doing that mode for a bit, you know, and that'll be neat, I think, to do that together and see that island grow naturally as we do these streams and stuff, right? And that's correct. Prisoner says, we're going to need a better chair. You're right. That little stool is terrible. So when we go out tomorrow, one thing we will probably do is go to a couple quick stores in the area and see if they have like a stool with a pad or something that I can sit on that's better than that. Maybe in a little ottoman or something. Anything that's better than a tiny plastic stool, because that's going to be shitty, you know? So, but I'm using that tonight. That's all we have, okay? So, I hope you'll join us tonight. It should be a fun, open Q&A, chill session stream, all right? I'm not here tomorrow because tomorrow is our day off to do 5 zillion things. We have a million appointments and things to do, all right? And then when I come back on Friday, it's going to be, of course, a podcast to catch you up on our day off and everything that's going on. And then it's going to be, oh, by the way, are you guys aware there is a Microsoft event tomorrow? There's a Microsoft digital event that's going to cover all these new upcoming Xbox games, including Avowed from Obsidian and the new Senua's Sacrifice game. So I'm excited because I'm going to catch up on that. What we might do is when we get home from our busy day, we'll maybe watch that presentation together tomorrow night so that I could talk about it on the podcast on Friday. So we're going to be discussing all that stuff on Friday morning. Friday's daytime stream will be Baldur's Gate 3. And the night stream will be Friday Night Fights, the final Street Fighter 6 Friday Night Fights, probably for a long time. And it's going to be me trying Zangief for the first time in ages. What I'll do is watch some Zangief gameplay, and see how it goes, and hopefully get back to a level where I can use him a little bit and have a fun Zangief night stream. Saturday will be the conclusion of Resident Evil 0 Remastered and more Sea of Stars. Sunday, this is the big day. Sunday's daytime stream is going to be DSP versus the Internet on DSP Reacts, and the night stream on Sunday will be my first ever throwback stream on DSP Throwback. Currently, people on the Throwback channel are voting on what they want that stream to be. There's 3 options. Option number 1 is a chill night stream where we just talk about the old days of YouTube. I field questions for Q&A. We hang out and have this retro vibe where I'll tell you all about how different YouTube used to be and what it was like recording with a camera and all that stuff. And it'll be a little bit of possible throwback retro gameplay from like the Switch Online. Maybe I'll just pick an NES game and toss it in there and play it for a little bit, okay? Or it's going to be a react stream to the Final Fantasy 13 playthrough that now has, I think, 11 parts live on the channel and climbing. Or is it 10? It's either 10 or 11 parts right now. Or I could do a live react to the Red Dead Redemption playthrough, which currently, as of this morning, has 4 parts live, so 2 hours of gameplay over there, okay? So please vote if you haven't yet. If you don't know how to vote, go to youtube.com/@DSPThrowback. Go to the main channel page. Go to the community tab. And on that tab is the poll. I'm going to refresh it right now and let you guys know what the updated results are of that poll, because that poll will be running to the weekend. It's pretty much the same. We have around 350 people who voted so far, and I'm sure more people will vote by the weekend. Currently, it is neck and neck. 42% have voted for the chill retro night with the Q&A and discussion. 46% have voted for live reacting to Red Dead Redemption 1. With only a 4% differential, to give you some perspective, that's like 10 votes. So, if just a few people vote, it could go either way. I'll be honest with you, I'm down for either of those. Of all 3 options, Final Fantasy 13 is by far the worst. That game is boring as dirt. I think it would be fun to do commentary on my commentary of it, but overall, just watching that game back has been incredibly boring. It's not a very good game until you get like 20 hours into it and it opens up. The original linear path of the game is terribly boring and not very interesting or well written. So, honestly, I would definitely enjoy reacting to Red Dead way more. So I'm glad you guys are currently voting for that. But it could also flip to the retro like Q&A session as well. And I'm okay with a hangout session talking about the old days of YouTube. Is either's fine. So why am I doing a throwback stream? Well, there's 2 reasons. Number 1, because I'm trying to get some views on that channel to qualify it for advertisements so I can monetize the videos. Right now, there's no ads on any of the content on that channel because I need to get more view hours on the channel. When I'm only uploading 1 video a day, you're going to get limited view hours on the channel. A stream typically gets tons of view hours. So if I do a live stream on there, and even if we just get a couple hundred viewers, it's going to boost the view hours of the channel and help it to qualify for the partner program fully. But in addition, I told you guys this year my intention is to try to get some content going on that channel that's not just raw playthroughs, so people get kind of invigorated about the old content. What I want is people to get excited about the old days and stuff and say, hey, I want to see this retro playthrough next. I'd like to see this retro playthrough next. And having events like this, like once every few weeks doing a random stream, actually would probably get people way more excited for the channel, right? So, it should be a fun night stream, and yes, things will be enabled like super chats and stuff. So if people wanted to do that, they would be able to. I'm not saying that anyone's going to do that because that's totally up to them. We're not going to have goals or anything on that stream. We're not. It's just going to be a random stream of hanging out and talking about the old days or commentary. It's not going to be like let's raise stuff and shit like that. I have no intentions of doing that. Anyway, please continue to vote. I'm excited for that on Sunday. And then basically Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday will be nice, fun, full days of gaming. Probably another session of Street Fighter 6, the final one before we wrap it up for Tekken 8 that Friday. Among other things, trying to get as far as I can in Baldur's Gate and other stuff, all right? And some Sea of Stars as well. So, there you go. There you go. Cool. So, good stuff, everybody. And I hope that you guys will join me for all the fun over the next week. Sound good? I hope so. So, I think I've covered everything at this point. So, you guys know the deal. I'm someone who makes a living out of stream contributions, not off of sponsorships, partnerships, and the like. I don't have any paid promotions, no product codes to enter in to get a discount and give me a kickback. It's all about me making content and you guys liking it so much that you support it. Please consider supporting the stream today. Ways that you can support: becoming a member, gifting memberships, super chats or super stickers, or tips. Currently, I'd like to hit $50 of tips on this stream. That's always my goal when I do any kind of a stream on YouTube. And sometimes we hit it and sometimes we don't. It's great when we do. It helps a lot. It'd be great if we can get around maybe like anywhere from 8 to 10 members today. Would help boost, the channel a bit. Okay? Speaking of that, I think it's time to now get to the subject at hand that everyone wants to know about, right? Let's do it. Let's talk about it, because finally I have my definitive answer of what's been going on this last week and a half with these member bombs. All right? So let's review what I'm talking about so you get the full story now in one section. I'm sure OP Boone will timestamp this video with AI, and this will be the start of the story of the member bomb nonsense that's been going on, because I finally got all the answers. Why do I have all the answers? Because people can't keep their mouths shut. Seriously. Most of the time, when these kind of things happen, if people just kept their mouths shut, no one would ever figure them out. But people can't help it. They just gotta brag. They gotta go, stroke their e-penis on forums somewhere. They big assy code coming out of their crotch and stuff. They can't resist. And so because of that, all this stuff finally comes to light. And now, the reason I'm telling this story is twofold. Number one, I do want you guys to know what's really going on. But number two, I feel like this is a cautionary tale for anyone right now who's making content on YouTube. It might actually affect other sites as well. But right now, I'm only aware of this being something going on YouTube. Okay? So allow me to explain. Last week, on the 7th of January, I received 200 gifted memberships from someone named Nikita. This is someone who I'd never spoken with before, had no idea who they were. No one had any idea who they were. But it was 4 bombs of 50 memberships, totaling 200 that day. And everyone was stoked because they got divvied out. People actually received them, and they were using their emotes, and they had the tags and badges and everything, and everyone was super excited for this. Like, wow, this is neat. Obviously, I was happy. I love it when my community gets rewarded like that. It's one thing if I get a contribution, because that directly helps me in the business. But when the community also makes out, that's really cool. And I knew with all these new playthroughs coming up that people were going to enjoy having access to the emotes and the badges and everything. You were going to have a great time with it, right? So it made me feel great. Oh, wow, feeling of community and, support and growth. The next day, January 8th, I receive another member bomb of 200 members from the same person. Now, I just want you to think about this. My memberships in the United States cost $3.99 each. So this person buying 400 members in 2 days essentially just spent, think about how much money they just spent. You know what I'm saying? That's a lot of money. I mean, that's ridiculous amount of money that they just spent, right? And you got to wonder, is it really legit? Did they just spend over $1,000 to support this channel and the community? You always got to ask, because it's a difference between if it's someone if it's someone who's a regular in the chat, and they've been here for years, and they're a long-standing fan, and they say, I just want to help out everyone. Here we go. Then I would immediately trust it. But as you guys know, I've been through the ringer over the years. I've seen so many different ways of trolling, chargebacks, crimes committed against me in attempts to try to fuck with me and my business and my livelihood. And so whenever I see something like this, right, I tend to be very skeptical. Now, I don't want to look a gift horse in the mouth, right? But at the same time, you gotta wonder. So basically, after a couple of days, I started looking at my YouTube revenue, and no revenue seemed to be recorded for those 400 gifted memberships. To which I'm like, now I'm skeptical. I'm like, how could I have gotten 400 memberships but no real increase in income those 2 days? It doesn't seem to make sense, right? And some people were starting to say things like, oh, well, maybe what it was these people were from another country, like Nikita, whoever Nikita is. Maybe Nikita is from another country, and in their country, memberships cost something different. So maybe you did get paid, but you got paid less than what you would have thought. So instead of making, if it's a $4 membership, I would have made like $2.50 a membership, but maybe not. Maybe in their country it's way cheaper. So maybe you made like $1 a membership instead. Can you confirm that? And I looked. No, I didn't even get that. Like, I didn't get $400 for 400 memberships. Like, no, there's like nothing there, right? So I'm like, definitely, that can't be it either. So what could it be, right? So a couple days pass. It hits January 10th. Okay? And on January 10th, I get gifted another 100 memberships. This time from someone whose name is Duty. Now, at this point, I'm skeptical. I'm like, since those first 400 memberships didn't seem to count for anything, could these be real? So I go and check this person's YouTube channel, all right? And their YouTube channel has existed since 2021, so it's not a new, like, dummy account, but they definitely changed the name. The name was something different previous. I couldn't tell what it was, but you could tell they had just changed the name to say Duty. Now, here's the thing. As you know, one of my detractors' names is Duty, or Duty Streams or something. I mean, what a big-brained fucking person to name themselves Duty. I mean, you're a real fucking genius, right? You can name yourself anything on the planet, and you name yourself after fecal matter. That's pretty impressively smart, isn't it? Anyway, so I'm thinking this person is probably trying to spoof my detractor. Maybe even give him like a razz, right? So I'm looking at it, I'm like, you know, this one even more than Nikita is probably questionable. Because now you can tell this is an account that just changed their name. They changed it purposefully to a detractor's name, right? But the thing was, the memberships went out, and people got them, and people had all the benefits. It wasn't like these memberships went out, people were like, oh, what happened? They're fake. I can't use the emotes. I can't use... No, they all worked. Okay? So within 3 days, well, a 4-day span, I'd gotten 500 gifted memberships on this channel, right? Okay. So, as you know, the weekend happened and all of that. My day off happened last week and everything. And I come back to streams this week, and I basically told you guys at the beginning of the week, it's weird that it's not recording any income for those gifted memberships, and now there's 500 of them. And none of them are recorded as revenue. And I'm like, something definitely gives here, right? In the meantime, someone else came on these streams by the name of X Hooligan. And this person did a series of super chats, as well as 50 gifted memberships. But this person started speaking in Spanish. And then we were using Google Translate to try to figure out what they were saying. Well, one of the things that they said, all right, was something like, oh, so I like your content, but I have to go poop. You mean like duty? You see what I mean? So basically, this guy is probably the same person. All right? But now they're pushing the envelope even further. Not only are they doing fake gifted memberships of some kind, but now they're actually trying to get attention on the streams as well by doing super chats and getting me to respond. You understand? So, at first, you know, I was responding positively to this stuff. But this person, after a couple days, kept doing these super chats in Spanish. And after a while, I started to see a pattern brewing. Okay? And basically, after seeing that pattern, I kind of started to figure out what might have been going on. Because there's something that happens here on YouTube that, to my knowledge, is an exploit. I don't know if it's actually like purposeful or legal. It seems to be an exploit. What is an exploit? An exploit means that someone has found a loophole in a system that should not exist and was not part of the original design of the system, yet they found a way to use it for personal gain or benefit. Okay? And you might say, exploit, well, what's the exploit? All right? So here's what I'm to understand, and people can correct me on this because I only know of this from people telling me and through my research basically last night, where I found out through someone contacting me and telling me, this always happens too. People contact me behind the scenes and they'll be like, Phil, just so you know, we found out what really is going on. For example, when I got kicked out of Twitch, the partner program 2.5 years ago, now it's almost 3 years ago, at first, I had no clue what happened, and Twitch wouldn't respond. And then someone behind the scenes contacted me and sent me all the information and said, here's literally the anti-DSP campaign that was sent to Twitch to make you look awful. Obviously, it's completely false and out of context. It was like a compilation of my worst moments of like 15 years, right? And they sent it to Twitch and said, basically, Twitch had to basically get you out of the partner program, because if they didn't and someone complained, then how would they pretend like they're woke? Because of the stuff you've said over the years, right? So I'm like, wow. So basically, I got punished for things I did like 10, 15 years ago because Twitch has gone fully woke, and they don't want anyone who's ever said risque commentary on their site, despite the fact I've been partnered with them for ages, and they never had an issue with it before, and I don't do it now. That's very interesting, okay? So anyway, that's just one example. So someone sent me information and said, we have seen that there's this person who's bragging stupidly on various forums about doing this to you. All right. And what it is this exploit is that what they do is they use a VPN. If you don't know what that is, it means it's basically a way to make it look like you are in a certain region or country of the world, even though you're not. It's a way to get around if like an IP address is blocked in your country, you can use a VPN to still access the IP address. It protects your identity in a way, okay? So basically, what people have found is that there's particular countries where if you go to YouTube under that country, okay, that location, YouTube's pricing is completely wrong. It's not that the pricing is cheaper, it's that it's just fucking wrong, okay? Now, I don't know specifically what countries it is. Apparently one of them is a Spanish-speaking country, okay? So if you so for example, right now, if you're in the United States and you want to become a member of DSP Gaming, it's $3.99. That's the pricing that I'm able to control, and that's it. I don't control international pricing. YouTube does. So apparently people found a way to use a VPN to pretend like they live in another country, and when they do that, it changes all the pricing of everything on YouTube. Completely wrong. It's not a correct rate. Like some people say, oh, it's exchange rates. No, it's not. It's an exploit. YouTube's pricing is fucked up for certain countries, and it's not right. So basically what this person did is they used a VPN to log in as another country, and they went and bought hundreds of memberships for like pennies, right? So think about this. They bought 50 memberships, and if they did that in the United States, that would be like $4 times 50. That's $200. They were able to get it for like 50 cents because it's fucked up. It's completely broken. So they bought 200, then they used another account, they bought 100, and now this EX Hooligan did it and did 50. 550 memberships purchased via a VPN exploit that should not exist and has incorrect pricing, and they bought 550 memberships for like $2. So you might be like, so why didn't I see the revenue? Well, I did. I made $2 on all those memberships. So how would I even have known that's what it was? There's no way you could record that and it would make any sense. How would you know? Right? So to confirm this, there's been super chats that have been coming in from people, and they look huge. For example, someone will do a super chat and it'll be red, and red means it's the highest tier of super chat. Okay? You're like, whoa, it's a red super chat. That means it's very valuable. But when you actually currency convert it from whatever this Spanish currency is that the super chat is, and you convert it to USD, it's like $1 or less. So yeah, it's basically YouTube is fucked up. They have this glitch or exploit, a hole in the system where people are working around, where they live and buying things on YouTube insanely cheap. And apparently it's not just me. Apparently this has been going on for months. Like, people have been going to YouTube streamers and dropping hundreds of gifted memberships on their channels, and the people are like, oh my God, this is amazing. This could be like life-changing money for me. You just gave me $1,000, and then they make like 25 cents. And they're like, huh? I want you to think about how fucked up that is. Now, here's the thing. Me, it's not that huge of a deal. I'm not dependent on or expecting to get that kind of crazy income out of gifted memberships, right? But for someone else, imagine someone like they're a small-time streamer and they're sitting here and they're live streaming, and someone comes on their stream and says, oh, I'm going to be like a, what do they call that? Like a philanthropist. I'm just dropping on random YouTube streams today and I'm helping people, right? So here we go. I'm just going to gift you. And they gift 500 memberships to their community. And they're like, oh my God, I can't believe this is like life-changing money for me. And it doesn't count. They don't get it. They get a quarter, a nickel. Like, what the fuck? So, now here's the deal. All right? Basically, you might say, well, how is this allowed? It's not. It doesn't matter how much YouTube pretends like it is. It's not, because it's an exploit. The difference would be if this was correct. If this was a proper, like, currency conversion, then it would be correct. But it's not. It's not a proper currency conversion. It's an exploit. So, in reality, when people do this, they're breaking the law, and YouTube, every time that they enable this, also is kind of breaking their own terms of service, or not terms of service, excuse me, their own partnership contract, okay? If this becomes a huge thing on YouTube, and this starts happening en masse to tons of YouTubers, that's a lawsuit against YouTube. And they're going to have a hard time defending themselves. They are, because this is a problem. This is a giant hole where people can just lie and buy things on the cheap, and that affects people's businesses, right? Imagine if you were running a restaurant and someone walked into your restaurant and says, well, I have a coupon that says that I get everything on the menu for a nickel. Like, what the fuck is this? Hey, you got to honor the coupon, tough shit, right? No, that's bullshit. I'm not going to give you everything for free. What are you, out of your fucking mind? But, you know, again, here's the problem with YouTube, like I already told you earlier. Talking to YouTube support, you might as well talk to the painting behind me, because I will get a better response from the painting than talking to YouTube support. And I have an example of this, okay? About 2 years ago, I found that there was a huge bug on YouTube. I found it myself because I was clicking around and doing stuff, and, you know, I was like, oh my God, this is a humongous liability for YouTube. If they don't fix this, this could break the site. So I contacted YouTube support, and I gave them step-by-step instructions on how it works. Screen captures, everything. YouTube argued with me for 2 weeks that I was wrong. 2 weeks. And I kept telling them, no, I'm not. Here's the evidence. I don't want to hear you give me a form letter. I don't want to hear this bullshit. This is a huge site exploit. You need to fix it. So after 2 weeks of me hammering them and saying it's real, give it to someone to review, YouTube support closed my conversation, and I didn't hear from them again, and within 1 month, it was fixed. They closed the problem. They repaired it behind the scenes. Okay? So, it's not that YouTube doesn't fix these issues, it's that they drag their feet when they do, and they fight you, because they actually think they're so smart that there's no way that they could possibly have an issue like this on the site. Like, no way, man. An exploit like that, there's no way that exists. We're smarter than that. We're all Ivy League trained. We're all professional brainiacs over here at Google. I mean, we fucking eat pomegrapples and slide down slides and do Pilates during one of our fucking classes during our workday. There's no possible way that we could have a problem with the site. You're out of your mind. But then come to find out, every time people are right, and then they fix the problems behind the scenes, right? So, this is definitely a problem right now. Now, here's the thing. Now I'm aware of it. And when I see people come in here, and I see these super chats and things coming out, I'm just going to ban these people on site and not even respond. So if you notice, you know, a super chat comes in, and it's, you know, a foreign currency, and it's someone saying something stupid, I'm just going to ban and just move on with my day and ignore them, all right? Now, I can't stop people from using a site exploit. There's nothing I can do about that. I can't make YouTube fix the fucking problem, all right? You would think that now that I've talked about this publicly, that it would become knowledge that people would want to fix. But again, no one listens to Darkside Phil. To me, I'm no one, right? I'm nobody. I'm some idiot. There's no possible way that I could know anything about this or know anything important. So obviously, you know, me saying this, I might as well be telling this story to this painting, because the rest of the internet treats me like a dumb meme rather than a human who knows shit, because I've been around the block for 15 fucking years. I know what I'm talking about. I might as well tell Mega Man about it. Maybe Mega Man will throw the Shadow Blade at YouTube and fix the problem, right? But you would definitely hope that someone would listen and try to fix this problem, okay? So if more fake stuff comes in, there's nothing I can do about it, all right? But I can wholeheartedly tell you, after investigating the situation, after having basically looked at forum posts and all the evidence, I have 550 fake memberships on the channel right now. They're not real. No one paid for them. You know, it's good that you guys have the benefits from them. That's amazing. But the problem is, the whole point of this leaderboard down here is to show how I'm doing support-wise on a stream, correct? And when you see 1,147 memberships, what's the first thing that comes to mind? Wow, that's a lot of members. Phil's doing really good for himself, right? That's not true. That's a misconception based on 550 memberships I'm not going to get paid for, okay? So that's not right, because now what will happen is people will come by and look at that and say, wow, Phil's doing well off for himself. He's got tons of support. He doesn't need help today. I'll come back in a couple weeks maybe when things are slower and I'll help him then. And that's bullshit. I make my living on that. This is my main income down here. You understand? There's no behind the scenes agreements that I have with companies to pay me to shield their products. This is what I make my living on, and that can hurt me concretely. All right? So, enough is enough. Right now, I'm fixing the fucking members total to be appropriate to what I really have. I have 550 fake memberships. So if you subtract 500, you're at 647. And if you subtract the other 50, right, you're at 597. In reality, I currently have 597 members. That's the accurate number. And so what I would like to do today is get 610. Okay? It's only fair that I properly adjust it so people actually know what I have. Because that's bullshit. You know what I'm saying? That's not fair to you or me to have people think that this community is doing so much better than it is because someone used a fucking exploit on YouTube that they need to fix on their end and I have no control over. All right? So there you go. Now, it is what it is. Now, listen. That's still a great amount of members. I'm not disappointed about that. And typically around this time of year, that's about the amount of members that I would actually have regardless. But the problem now is, this month my income is way down because there's no ad revenue to go around on YouTube at all. Like literally nothing. So ad revenue that I had over the last few months in the fall, I don't have. If you would like to support the streams, by all means, please do. And by the way, now that we've confirmed what was really going on, gifted memberships do help this channel. We know that now. As long as they're legit and people aren't abusing the fucking system and using an illegal exploit, all right, I will get credit for memberships and gifted memberships. So if you wanted to gift memberships to the community, yes, thank you. That would help a lot, all right? Sending super chats, never had a problem with. Tips, never had a problem with. By all means, if you want to contribute via those means, please do, all right? But I am now going to leave this adjusted for the month. 550 members really don't exist. I'm not going to count them for the channel and make it look like I'm doing way better than I am because that's bullshit. Okay? Okay. Excuse me. All right. So, that's the deal. I know that sounds crazy, but does it sound as crazy as the fact that there was a Comcast employee that for years was actually messing with my internet from internally in Comcast? But that really happened. Does it sound as crazy as the fact that not once but twice I had people catfishing my entire community, pretending to be a fan so they could get in as a moderator, only to then after the fact try to leak information about my mods and also mess with my chats? That really happened too. Does it sound as crazy as the fact that someone actually pretended to be an escort that I supposedly was paying to fly over from Europe repeatedly because I didn't have the ability to have a real relationship and I was blowing all my money on it? And then they were trying to catfish so that they could actually blackmail me later? Well, that really happened too. So you see what I'm saying? Like, all that stuff actually really happened. So as crazy as this story sounds, it's not as crazy as the other shit that's already really happened. So believe it. Okay? So, I mean, these people are wild and insane with the way that they act. And it's just out of control. All right? It's absolutely out of control. All right. Oh, by the way, while we have a couple moderators on the stream, FYI, moderators who are here, because I didn't have a chance to message everyone yet, this Sunday night, I'm planning on doing my first ever stream over on DSP Throwback. If you're a moderator and you can make it, please let me know, because what I need to do is set that channel up for the stream, and I haven't yet. So I need to get people moderated over there, like upgraded to moderators. If you're interested in helping, please contact me. Like, shoot me an email, because what I need to do is get you over there set up as moderators. So, like, Ponage, I saw you. I'll probably talk to like Slayer later tonight. And I talked to some of my other moderators as well. I think actually Madara might help out. So I want to get all the moderators over there so that we can get it set up so we can have a good stream on Sunday night. Okay? So if you're interested, shoot me an email. I definitely could use some help. For as infrequently as I'm going to do streams on the Throwback channel, it's not a big deal. But I definitely need some help with that. So that way it's not just me trying to moderate when I'm doing stuff myself. Okay? So there you go. All right. So, King Be Cruel says, is it ironic your old Final Fantasy 13 channel is hijacked by someone who streams Spanish soccer on it? You know, I'll be honest with you guys. I have absolutely nothing against Spanish-speaking people. I've known tons of Spanish-speaking people of various different ethnicities over the course of my life who are very nice people. I don't think this is the case that has anything to do with that. I just think it's a bunch of bad apples. Let's put it that way. It's a bunch of bad apples. And they try to spoil the bunch, but they're not going to spoil it for me. People in Spanish-speaking countries are nice people, in general. Okay? But there's bad people everywhere, right? Exactly. All right. So now, without further ado, I think it's time for us to do some shout-outs. All right? Let's do some shout-outs, and then let's do some Q&A or whatever we have time for. Okay. So, we start off today with Cloudy, who did a super chat earlier and says, how old is Jasper now? I wish we could answer that. The problem is we rescued him from a shelter. Let me think about this. 6 years ago? Something like that. And when we rescued him, they didn't know how old he was. They assumed that he was between 2.5 and 3.5 at the time we rescued him. So if you do the math and you add, it could be anywhere from a range of like, he could be like 8, he could be like 10. Like, we don't know. We actually have no idea how old Jasper really is. He's still spry. He's still full of energy. He doesn't have medical problems, thankfully. So we're hoping to have Jasper around for a very long time. But, you know, it just sucks when you're not there for a cat when they're young and you don't know how old they are. You know, when you rescue pets, typically there's no paperwork attached that really has a medical history. So that's kind of what happened with us, is that we, like, again, he's front declawed. Why only front declawed? It doesn't even make sense. Why would the owners front declaw the cat but not back declaw the cat? Obviously, we don't agree with them declawing the cat at all, but why did they do that? It's a weird situation. That's why he was sitting at the shelter for months, because no one wanted a cat that was front declawed. People were looking for a cat that could be like a hybrid indoor-outdoor cat, and you can't have an outdoor cat with front declaws missing. You know what I mean? So that's why he was there for so long. Anyway, so yeah, so he could be like 8, he could be 10. We don't really know. It's an age range, and we just have to guess. Okay. Oh, let's see here. Yeah, I know. Declawing cats is absolutely atrociously awful. It's as if people are saying, you do too much damage with the tips of your fingers. Let's just cut off all the tips, and all you have are, like, knuckles down. Imagine if your fingers were defingered and all you had were knuckles. That's what you're doing to your cat. Anyway, continuing on, King Be Cruel is a 32-month member and says, I'm real, please don't ban me. I don't believe you. Let's ban King Be Cruel immediately. I don't think he's very trustworthy. Let's get rid of him right now. And gone permanently. Very nice. Goodbye, King Be Cruel. I smelled a VPN on you. Sorry about that, King Be Cruel. All right, obviously that's a joke. 672 gifted a membership to the community, and it went to Ethan, that dude. So thank you very much, 672, and that gets us up to 598 members. So thank you very much to 672. Carliga re-upped their membership for 32 months as well, and says, real old school G's with regal crowns are legit. That's right, and some of you, in 4 months, you guys realize you're going to qualify for the current highest level of crown on DSPGaming, the Diamond Crown. You guys are going to have the Diamond level crown, which is pretty damned epic. Now, there is actually another year available crown, and I haven't even added anything yet for that, because, you know, I didn't even know what to use for that yet, but I'll think about it. Maybe we won't have a crown. Maybe when we get to next year, we'll do like a silly emote or something to signify being the highest level of member. But I really do appreciate those of you that have been here almost 3 damn straight years now, as I've been a full-time YouTube content creator. Excuse me. I just belched tremendously, and it was really disgusting. Okay, let's start with some tips now. We start off today with a $2.25 tip from Mr. Puffy Nipples. I have an interesting question. If you had a time machine and went back in time and talked to your past self, what would you tell your past self? Man, see, here's the thing. Because people say stuff like this all the time. Oh, by the way, I put Cloudy's name in the wrong spot. Hold on, Cloudy. I'm sorry about that. I got distracted. Yes, I'm actually going to put his name up there for now, but I believe there's more tips that are bigger after this, so we can get him off the leaderboard in a second. But here's the thing. A lot of people think, man, if I knew what I knew now, back then, everything would have been different. I would have avoided mistakes, right? I would have been a better person. I could have been rich and famous if I just knew back 20 years ago what I know today, right? Like, you said, if I go back to the time 20 years, so it's 2004, and I tell my previous self, invest in Apple, right? Or invest in Google, or, you know what I mean? Invest in one of these things. And I put money together and I put a few bucks into it, I could potentially be rich today, right? Correct. That's true. But instead, I look at it a different way. If it weren't for me going through all the things I've gone through in my life, if I didn't have the life experience I have today, if I didn't make the mistakes that I made back then today I wouldn't be the person that I am. I wouldn't be all the wiser. I wouldn't be happy. Like right now, I'm actually better off physically than I was like 15, 20 years ago. You know that, right? Like I used to be fat and very, very unhealthy, eating terribly, drinking at all hours of the night, every night. Like now I'm actually better today. My personal life is much better today. I'm so happy with my family life. Tomorrow I get to spend a whole day with my wife. I'm super excited for that. Tonight we get to be on stream together. I'm super excited for that. It's a healthy, happy relationship. I never had that when I was younger, right? So if anything, the one thing that I would probably tell my younger self is, don't give up the faith. Things will get better. They may not be feeling good right now, but if you stay the course, eventually your life will change and be more positive. Because back then, I was depressed and messed up in my head because of all the stuff going on, and I didn't feel like anyone really cared or loved me, and I didn't think that I was doing anything meaningful with my life. There's a lot of things going on. But now that I'm older, I'm like, my God, am I happy that I toughed through those more awful parts of my life to get to this end result that's a much better life, right? So, there you go. That's the one thing that I would probably say. All right. I received a $5 tip from Swagonito. He says, I swear I'm not tipping you in pesos. Now, hold on a second because, yeah, look. This has happened again. My camera is leaning against my table, which means I need to adjust it. Give me a second. I don't know how this happens. Nah, see, I don't, hold on. I don't want it touching. Because if it touches, it shakes the camera. Let's try that. Okay. So now if I shake it. No, it's still touching it right there, I think. Or, oh, no, I know what it is. This is too loose. Hold on. That's what it is. The camera is too loose right now. Hold on. What I need to do is this, because this is screwed up. That's better. Do it like that. So that's number one. Oh, look at that. Immediately, it's much better. I shake it and nothing. See that? I was using the weaker leg, and the weaker leg isn't stable. But now it's more stable. Yeah, okay. So now I just got to center it. There, crisis averted. That better? It's good. Okay, so Swagonito did a $5 tip. He said, I swear I'm not tipping you in pesos. Sorry about these fake memberships. It's wild how YouTube allows exploits. They could legally end up getting in trouble for these liabilities. You're right. Here's the thing with YouTube. All right? And I've told you guys this over the years. Their attitude is thus, okay? We don't really care about anything unless something legal is involved. So, for example, they don't want to ever get involved in copyright at all. They outright say on the site, we're not here to enforce copyright. That's not our job. If you have issue with copyright, issue a lawsuit, and we'll just do what we need to do to comply with the law, but we don't want to get involved with copyright. So that's why there's so much copyright abuse on YouTube. People lie, people impersonate other people. They outright just abuse the system, and YouTube feels like they're immune. In reality, they're not. Every single time that YouTube issues a false takedown without justifying it, they're actually breaking the law. The problem is literally no one has gotten together to stop this nonsense. If a prominent group of rich YouTubers had enough and got together and got a law team together and had enough evidence, concrete evidence that copyright law had been abused on YouTube over and over, and that YouTube ignored proper requests for vetting and for all of that, YouTube could very much be legally liable for the stuff that they've done over the years. But no one does it. Why? Because people don't want to bite the hand that feeds them. That's what they feel like. If I make trouble with YouTube, how will I make a living on YouTube? Right? Right? That's what they say. You know? So, and where are they going to go? That's a viable alternative. There's literally not a single video sharing site on the internet that has the reach of YouTube. So if you burn your bridge with YouTube, where do you go? Right? I mean, there's other streaming alternatives, but there really isn't a viable, file hosting alternative. At one point, I thought that was going to be Twitch, but Twitch has fucking fumbled that ball so many times that now no one even wants to be on Twitch anymore. They only go there because it's the one place you could get exposure for being a streamer. Outside of that, I don't think anyone would really give a crap about streaming on Twitch. So, yeah, that's the situation. So, you're right, but again, it's much like most things. So many companies don't actually take action on stuff that could. We were just talking about this the other day. You are aware you do not own a video game. You have no legal right. You've never owned a video game in your life. All you've owned is the license to play said game. Because if you actually owned a game, you'd have the right to copy it, sell it, and distribute it. And you don't. If you buy a video game and then you copy it and try to print out copies or sell copies, that's illegal, right? So you don't own the game. You just own a right to play it. But people still trade their games in. People still resell, but that's actually not illegal. That's not legal. It never was. It's just that people don't, companies don't really care. They don't do anything about it. So it's kind of the same thing here. Even though tons of this kind of nonsense happens on YouTube on a daily basis, YouTube does nothing about it. Unless a lawsuit gets slapped on them, they don't care and they don't deal with it. So that's always been the case for YouTube. In any case, that's always been YouTube's attitude. Unless someone's getting sued, we don't get involved. So, let's see here. Thank you for a $2 tip, Monty. Monty says, none of your games you're currently playing are too interesting, but actually I liked your family stream last week, and I'm going to come up back tonight for the family stream. That's good to hear, Monty. I'm glad you're enjoying that stuff. Definitely different kind of content, and we are looking forward to do it tonight. It should be fun, right? It should be a good time. Okay. Anime Slayer tipped $1 and basically said he's watched some of the content over on DSP Throwback, and yes, as it says in those videos, clearly, a lot of the commentary is outdated, right? And he says, so, does that mean you support it if you watch it or do anything to support that channel? No. No. You can, for example, okay, right now, there are museums out there that house tons of historical things in it that could be considered awfully racist or outdated and things we don't do anymore. Torturing devices from the Middle Ages, things that prove that there was slavery in America, and it's sitting in a museum. If you donate $1 to the museum to keep the museum going, do you support those? No. You're supporting the posterity of history, that you can still have history be retained and viewed, correct? That's the idea of DSP Throwback, is yes, we all can watch those old playthroughs, and we can agree that that commentary is outdated. That's why I don't do that kind of commentary anymore, correct? That's literally the reason why. And I cringe at myself that I used to use that kind of language because, you know, I used to be part of the fighting game community, and a lot of that language was thrown around casually like that back in the day. Just willy-nilly, just toss it out there. And it was like, wow, that's pretty bad that that was used back then in that community. But that's just how it was. We didn't even think those words were bad words in the context that we used them, right? So you watch my old commentary from 14 years ago, and you're going to hear some language that I would never use today because I've wised up and I know better. I grew up and I matured, right? But just because you're watching that content and you think it's funny or you like it, does that make you a bad person? Because you like the commentary and you're going to attend my stream on Sunday, or, you know, you like a video, you leave a comment, or you leave a super chat or become a member, does that mean you're supporting the bad behavior? No, I'm not doing it anymore. If I were still making said content in that manner and your support went towards more of that kind of content, that would be different. But I'm not doing that. You understand? You're not supporting medieval torture if you support a museum that has medieval torture devices in it. You're not supporting that commentary if you throw a couple bucks towards DSP Throwback for the effort of all the work going into that channel. You see, it's posterity purposes, just so that people can watch the historical commentary I did, right? In a more modern fashion, obviously. So, very, very different things. All right? Okay. I received a $3 tip from... I'm not even going to say this person's name because I think they did this on purpose. They made a ridiculous name. It took me $3 and said, you know, I'm glad you figured out nonsense with fake memberships. I'd be skeptical if someone had an odd name and it sounded suspicious or trollish, and their name is suspicious and trollish. I think they were trying to pull a fast one, do like an Inception kind of a fourth wall breaking deal. So thanks for the tip, but there's absolutely no way I'm reading that name. Okay. Nice try, though. All right, and then I received a $1.50 tip from Ansu Kamaru. So the other day you mentioned Sea of Stars is 20 hours long. It's not. It'll take you at least 35. You can play more accurately. I sent you an unban request a few days ago. Hope it didn't get lost in the sauce of your inbox. Actually, I did not see it. Can you send it again? And if I don't get it again, it means your email, sadly, is hitting my spam folder, and we'll have to figure something else out. Because I would unban you right now if I saw it, but I don't remember seeing your email, which makes me think that for some reason you got auto-flagged as spam, which isn't surprising. I get literally hundreds upon hundreds of spam emails a day, so the box is kind of overactive. You know what I'm saying? Okay. All right, let's see here. I received a $20 tip from 1 Minute Man. Make sure you finish level 1 before going to level 2. I think he means Act 1. I think he's talking about Baldur's Gate 3. And yeah, people have warned that where I am in the Underdark, you could accidentally, like, go to Act 2, and then you can't go back and do the Mountain Pass. But I've been told, do not do that. That there is critical, important content in the Mountain Pass that I should do before we leave and go to Act 2, so we will do that. Don't worry. We'll finish the Underdark today and head to the Mountain Pass. I'm sure you guys are going to be here to help me out with that, so I don't make that mistake, right? Thank you, 1 Minute Man, so much for that, for all of your support every single day. I really appreciate it. Okay. All right. So, that is that. I believe we have covered everything that I wanted to talk about today. If you guys want to... ask me any questions, please tag me in the chat. We have a little bit of extra time before the podcast adjourns, and we jump back into Baldur's Gate 3 for the day. Okay? Now Hidalgo is saying, actually, you can go between Acts 1 and 2. The only issue is the tieflings, but you finished that quest. Oh. Well, I obviously want to do all the Act 1 content before we go to Act 2, so... Lucky Gremlin says, what about thoughts on a members-only chat? Why would we do that? I don't think we've ever done it once, right? Like, even in the almost 3 years now that I've been a full-time YouTube streamer, I don't think we've ever used members-only chat. And what's funny about that is we used to use subscribers-only chat on Twitch a lot. But here, we have enough control over the chat that I don't think we've ever needed to use it, which is a good thing. It means that the chat here is definitely more manageable and controllable than it ever was over on Twitch, right? Okay. No, I don't accept Apple Pay, no Sleep Real vibes. My tips are strictly through PayPal. I don't take Apple Pay, sorry. 672, popping his 32-month membership message and says, indie games, not an issue. Kiddie games like SOS are. You think Sea of Stars is a kiddie game, huh? You obviously don't play many games. Anyway, very nice. I received a $2 tip from Ugly Tuna Roll. He says, I feel like you don't have to apologize for how you were in the past. That's just ridiculous. Sure, different times, but that doesn't define who a person is. Cheers, and always look towards the future. Yeah, and here's the other thing, too. A lot of people want to, like, change the past. Like, they want to pretend like their past didn't exist, right? Just because I have a throwback channel where I'm re-uploading old playthroughs doesn't mean that I'm supporting my actions in said playthroughs. I'm just preserving them so that people can see that the history happened, right? Unless you acknowledge who you were in the past and what was wrong with that, how can you ever change in the present or future, right? If you ignore the past, you're just destined to make the same mistakes you made. You need to acknowledge the mistakes and say they're wrong and move on and become a better person, right? That's what a lot of people don't get. Like, oh, I need to delete all of my actions online from like 20 years ago. No, you don't. What are you talking about? No, you don't, right? Okay. By the way, speaking of throwback, I believe it was this morning that... Hold on. The next part of Red Dead Redemption went live, part 4. So now there's 4 parts of Red Dead Redemption, over about 2 hours of gameplay. And part 10 of Final Fantasy 13 went live yesterday. So that's about 5 hours, right? I'm curious what we're actually going to be doing on Sunday night for the stream. But right now it is still leaning towards reacting to Red Dead, which would be fun. Red Dead is a great playthrough. Obviously, again, some of the commentary is off from what I would do today. But I think it'll be a good watch. Plus, the visuals of Red Dead look better now that they've been upscaled and better frame rate. They look much better. Final Fantasy 13, a lot of the color and shit is off. I think Red Dead turned out better. So... No, I was never. The villain, I always used to say this. The villain I thought that DSP actually used to be racist in the past because of his childhood, but he's actually pretty chill. You have to understand something. I used to call myself the equal opportunity offender. And what I mean by that is, based on what was happening in a game, I would do this commentary for the situation, but literally everything was fair game, including me, white people, and even, you know, Italians and Europeans. If you think that some of the stuff that I did back in the day was racist, fair enough, but watch my Assassin's Creed 2 playthrough. If you want to see me completely destroy Italians, I mean, that's really bad. And I'm part Italian. My heritage is part Italian. And I destroyed Italians in that playthrough as well. That I would basically razz everyone, right? It was me just razzing everyone around. The thing is, people like to focus in on certain groups and, oh, see, he was so bad towards this group and this group. No, actually, I did it towards every group equally. But that's what people don't want to admit. They want to act like I was singling out certain groups and being really mean to just them, and because of that, I'm a racist. Incorrect, right? Fed Rogers is kind of like South Park. Yeah, I would argue South Park, Howard Stern, like there's a few different things that influenced me back in the day 15 years ago when I was doing my style of commentary, for sure. You think so? Chris Rock? Sir Ed Sheeran says Chris Rock, too. Oh, yeah? Joel Loft says there's backlash about Last of Us 2 remaster for the sake of remasters. What do you think? It's like I said, it's hard for me to hate on the Last of Us 2 remaster when it's a $10 upgrade. If they were selling that for 60 or 70 bucks and there was no other way to get it, then I would say, wow, what a ripoff. But since they're only charging you $10 if you own the original game, is it, from what I'm to understand, the extra content they put in there is worth $10, right? If you've never played The Last of Us 2, then this is the definitive edition to get. Buy it for full price. But if you own the original game, spend $10 to get the... I can't... This is not The Last of Us 1 remastered. That was a fucking ripoff. That was a grade A lie. They lied and said, oh, the game's completely different. It's the same exact fucking game. They outright lied about the content in the game. This one, they didn't. They were way more transparent and the pricing is fair. I'm not going to be negative about it like a lot of people are tending to be. You know what it is? I hate to say it. People just love to jump on drama bandwagons, right? I will be dramatic when I feel like there's a reason to. The Last of Us 1, Part 1, remastered, whatever the fuck you want to call it, was a complete ripoff. 100%. There was no justifying a $670 price tag for that game. It was the same as the original, just with accessibility and slightly improved visuals, but everything else was identical, okay? This version is only 10 bucks. It's not a ripoff. I'm not going to sit here and rave and rant to get drama content on my channel like everyone else likes to because they need clickbait. I don't need clickbait to survive. I make quality. So I'm not going to make clickbait content here on this junk. You know, there's nothing to complain about. All right? No, I'm not going to play the Infinite Wealth demo, King Be Cruel. There's no reason to. I'm playing the real game in a week. So I'm not playing the demo. If I can, Idri says, would you get the new Switch coming out this year? If I can get my hands on it. As you know, when these new consoles come out, they tend to be like unreachable, unbuyable for whatever reason. But yeah, I would like to get the Switch 2 and launch games. Obviously, that would be a big thing for the channel, right? To play all the new launch games for the Switch 2. Derek, why don't you save that kind of question for tonight? You basically asked me a question that would be perfect for tonight's family Q&A. Let's not get too far into that now. I think that would be perfect for later. Is there a GameStop around in my area? Yeah, there's a GameStop near my local mall. I'm trying to think where they all are. There's like 2 or 3 of them. But I think the one that would be considered closest is at my local mall or right across the street from it. It's still pretty far. It's like a 20-minute drive at least. So... would I recommend buying Last of Us 2 Original for a low price than paying the $10 as opposed to buying Last of Us 2 Remastered at full price? If you could pull that off, but I don't know if it works like that. I have no idea how they judge what the previous ownership of the game was. You know what I mean? I don't know how it works. I wouldn't know. I don't know if it's the digital copy. I don't know if a physical copy. I don't know how the upgrade system works. So I'm not going to recommend anything and screw somebody over. Derek, no, don't post it in the thread. If you're going to be here tonight for the stream, you don't need to post anything up in that thread. That thread is supposed to be for people who can't make the stream tonight to post up questions. If you're here live, you'll be able to ask the questions live in the chat. Would I buy a PS5 Pro if it released? Honestly, I don't see what the purpose would be because my PS5 runs everything beautifully, 1080p, 60 frames, as long as the game devs develop properly, right? There have been games that run like shit on there. Final Fantasy 16. And that's the game dev's fault, right? That's not the fault of the hardware. If there's a Pro, likely what the Pro would do is add more storage space, which I don't need, and probably have like better 4K performance, like better frame rates and things. I don't need that. I don't use 4K. For 1080p 60 frames, the PS5 is more than sufficient. So I don't see what the benefit would be of having the Pro, honestly. Like, I just don't know. Now, if they were like, oh, has double the power, and all devs will now be utilizing that power, and if you have the standard PS5, every game will look like shit, well then, yeah, then maybe I would consider getting the Pro. But I don't foresee that happening, okay? Let's see here. John. Thank you for re-upping your membership, John. I think you also did a super chat. Excuse me. Yes, John did a super chat and says, Hope today is good. I know I don't say much when I come to the stream. Sorry about that. I'm here for great content. Nah, dude, you don't have to be chatty or anything. You can just enjoy the stream and sit back and relax. It's all good. Thank you, John, for the super chat. Appreciate that. King Be Cruel asks what version of Infinite Wealth I'm going to get. Hold on. Let me read this. He says, what edition of Infinite Wealth are you getting? Be sure to pre-order so you can get extra classes. You get a lot of good shit, too. I'm getting the Ultimate Edition. I guess now that we're only like a week away, I probably should look into it. I have to wait till I get paid next week to really afford the 2 games. But once I get paid by YouTube next week, I should be able to get both. So probably like, you know, early next week, I could probably buy both Tekken and that. Tekken, I'll probably just get the standard edition because I'm not sold that I'm going to like it as much that I'm going to want to play all the DLC characters for the first season. But unless there's a significant amount of content you get in this, like the better edition, like maybe more customizables and cool stuff we'll enjoy on stream, I'll have to look into that. But as for Infinite Wealth, I think you do get classes like bonus stuff right away. Is that correct? Like you'll get more customizables for your characters. You'll get more classes unlocked right away. Like you get all various stuff for the better edition, right? I think. So I guess I'll have to look again. I'll have to look into it. My wife's getting it too, so we both have to look into it probably and decide what we're gonna do, and both get it in the next week. Do you guys know what comes with the Tekken better editions? Because I would only get the Tekken better edition if there's something that's gonna benefit us on our streams of the game. Like if there's gonna be silly new modes or customizables, and we'll like that, maybe I would get it. But if it's like, oh, it's just this first season pass, you get 4 characters, I don't really care about that because I don't know if I'm gonna want to play the game that long. You know, I guess we'll have to figure it out. Nope, not playing Persona 3 Reload. I've already explained there's 2 reasons why. Number 1, because I'm going to have too much else going on between Infinite Wealth and then Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. There's no time for another RPG in the middle. I've already played Persona 3, so that's the one that has to get skipped. And number 2, it's Atlus, and Atlus is infamous for hitting you with false copyright strikes, even if you abide by their streaming rules. So I'm not going to chance my entire business getting shut down because Atlus is trigger happy with that. So screw that game. I'm not playing it. Maybe in the future, but not right now. Derek, there was a giant segment of today's show explaining about the members. I'm not going to go into it again right now. I recommend you rewind the show and watch that segment because it was fully explained. I basically got to the bottom of those member bombs. They were not legit, and I'm not going to count them as support on my channel when they don't exist. So that's what happened there. Okay. You get Kazuya, Jin, and Jun's special avatars. Huh. Darziak says the Elder Scrolls Castles has been announced. It's open for registration. I hope it's as fun as Fallout Shelter. Are you saying it's a mobile game? An Elder Scrolls mobile game? Interesting. I might look into that, and I wonder... Kat likes that kind of stuff, too. It was funny. Kat tried to play Fallout Shelter. She played it for half a day and got so bored, stopped playing it. I was like, yeah, same thing with me. Like, I played Fallout Shelter when it came out for, like, half a week. And within 3-4 days, I was so bored, I never played it ever again. So I wonder if it's the same. I received a $10 tip. Thank you very much. So, this is from Tacos de Pastor. I love Tacos de Pastor, by the way. Phil, I think you're pretty much done with Underdark. All you have is the amulet, which continues in Act 3. I don't know if you're going to play Act 3. It might not be worth getting. No, I mean, dude, I've invested so much time in the game. Do you really think I'm not going to beat it? I mean, I'm not going to beat it anytime soon. But I'm absolutely, positively, 100% going to beat Baldur's Gate 3 at some point. I mean, it may be 5 years from now, but I'll still beat it. You know, I put too much time into this game to drop it. So, absolutely, yes, I want to do whatever's left in Underdark. So, I guess we're getting an amulet today, right? Andy, just ignore nonsense. Why would you ask me that publicly unless you're trying to cause nonsense? Just ignore nonsense. There's no point. There's no point to entertaining nonsense. Just say, oh, it's nonsense, and ignore it. Just like me. That's how you go through life. Ignore the nonsense. Okay. No Sleep Real Lives, I don't know what you mean. He says, I collect guides in my mailbox. Are they relevant to the modern day? What the hell does guides in my mailbox mean? I have no idea what you're talking about. Joel Loft says, the Tekken 8 Season Pass is just 4 extra characters and avatar skins and costumes. Meh, it's overpriced. You think so? Oh, I do have a question. Does anyone know what the model is in Tekken 8 to earn in-game customizables? Because to my knowledge, it's always been you just play the crap out of the game and you earn in-game currency, and you can use that to buy the customizables, like to customize your characters, right? But in Street Fighter 6, it wasn't like that at all, right? In Street Fighter 6, you had to buy everything. You had to actually spend real-life money to buy that. And I think in Tekken, that's not the case. And I would like to customize all of the... Like, I'd like to make Paul and King and all the characters I use look cool. But also, I think that there's the avatar in arcade mode you can also customize, right? So as long as it's all in-game and it's easily earnable by playing the game, I'd be happy. If it's going to be like Street Fighter 6 and you got to buy currency, that's going to piss me off, you know? Oh, you mean like Game Informer magazine? Oh, I mean, I used to read gaming magazines like crazy. I used to read EGM, Game Pro, Game Informer. I had a Game Informer subscription for a long time because it was part of the GameStop Pro member, whatchamacallit, the Pro membership you would have with them. Because you just got it for free. Like, you just got it either digitally or physically. They would mail it to you because you were part of that group or whatever. But I haven't been part of the GameStop thing in years and years. I don't go to GameStop anymore. I don't buy any games physically. So I haven't had a physical publication mailed to my house of gaming in like 7 years or something crazy like that. No, the camera is actually centered now. My background isn't. This is higher up than this. So now the camera is actually correct. The camera was actually crooked before. I fixed it. Yes, there was heavy customizing in Tekken Tag Tournament too. There was. I received a $5 tip from Poke Rev. If I send you Pokemon booster packs, would you consider opening them live on stream? Oh my god. I mean, I don't know how that could benefit us because I don't know anything about Pokemon cards, right? Like, I know absolutely nothing about Pokemon at all. Pokemon cards, that is. I wouldn't know what's a good card, what's a bad card. I wouldn't know the difference between any of it. Like, I know for a fact there's a market for that stuff. There's people who literally just sit on YouTube opening packs and stuff. And people like that. But I don't know anything about it. Right? I mean, that kind of goes right over my head. I used to love getting comic book cards. I used to get Marvel Masterpieces or X-Men Series 1, 2, and 3 and that kind of stuff back in the day. Like, I loved collecting cards like that. And yeah, I would buy a whole box and I would sit there and open the box and look for the chase cards and stuff like that, which was really cool to do. But man, I don't foresee myself being able to really do much fun content based around that when I don't understand it. You know what I mean? Like, well, I get what you're saying, but what would be the point if I open it? I don't know anything about any of the cards I'm staring at, right? I was like, what is this? Do I think the fighting game market is too dominated by Tekken, Street Fighter, Mortal Kombat, and the usual one big anime fighter? Do we need more? It would be nice, because honestly, that is the big three. It's always been Street Fighter, Tekken, Mortal Kombat. Now, every once in a while, you get an oddball, like the King of Fighters, or Virtua Fighter, or a Guilty Gear. But in reality, those are the dominant ones. Now, of course, the other force is Smash Brothers, right? That came out of the 2000s into the fighting game community. A lot of people argued it wasn't even a fighting game for the longest time. But that was very dominant too. But even now, that's like on the out because they're not really making a new one. So, yeah, it sure would be nice to maybe see another fighting game franchise step up and be considered as prominent as the others. But it never really happens. I mean, you see Soul Calibur every once in a while has a new game. Meh. It gets like a month of attention. Nobody cares, right? Joe Law says, yes, you can customize everything in-game in Tekken 8. When I have my hands-on session in November, I earn new costume sets for each character in-game. Oh, cool. So maybe I'll just get the standard edition of Tekken then, if that's the case. And I'll just earn everything by playing, just like you guys probably will, right? All right. Guys, I think it is time to adjourn. I have to use the restroom today before we actually start with Baldur's Gate. Nature calls, as they say. So we should probably adjourn now, so I'll have time to do that. I thank you all for hanging out with me on today's podcast. I hope you had a good time. Thank you for the early support. Thank you for bearing with me this last week and a half through all this member nonsense. Now at least we have it resolved and we know what's going on, so we can acknowledge when more of this nonsense happens. But it's just sad to happen this way. It is what it is. What can you do? Not much, right? You just put up with it. It's not me to fix. It's YouTube's problem to fix. But thank you all for chilling and supporting. I will see you again on Friday on the podcast. And we're going to have a lot to talk about on Friday. Because remember, tomorrow is the Xbox Direct. So they're going to talk about all these Xbox exclusive games. So I'll be talking about that on the podcast Friday. Plus talking about my day off and the like. So I hope you will join me for that. But in the meantime, thank you all. I will see you soon. Peace out.